See, I was talking about the lab environment. Confirm if you can hear me now. Okay. So I was talking about the lab environment, what we need to get started. So we need programming language. So let's say we have Python or Ansible deployed. Python is OS based. That means you get a different file for Windows operating system, or you might get for a Linux, for MacBook. Whereas Ansible is a package based. Wherever you are installing, if it is compatible, you have to download it in the format of package. And then you need a IDE. There are multiple options. You can go with PyCharm or Visual Studio or Eclipse or Atom. So there are, or you can go with the native idle itself, Python's idle itself. But these are not very user friendly. That's why we prefer going with PyCharm. Then what else we need? We need libraries, right? So let's say if you decided to have the SSH based automation, now you have few options here. You can prefer going with NetMiko, or you can prefer going with Paramiko. You can prefer going with NEPAM. You can prefer going with PyNTC or Nornia, and many others, which I'll just put it as dot dot dot. These are some of SSH library capable of SSH library over on TCP 22 port number. So let's say once you have the needful files over on your client machine. So this is a client machine. Over here, you have put all the needful. You have Python, you have PyCharm, you have the libraries, right? This is a package which you install. On the other side, you would have, let's say, a switch, firewalls, routers, right? And you would be considering taking SSH. So that is the prerequisite, that you should have a SSH connectivity between the client machine and the target devices. So you can do the management configuration first on your lab, like having IP address configured, a creation of username, creation of RSA public key, then the line VTY you can enable. You can enable transport input SSH, right? So those few management configs are needed while you do it on the lab environment. So every device will have its own way of management config. The Cisco ASA firewall could have little bit different or extra commands needed, whereas switch and router would be very simple enough. So then what you need to do is you need to do a self test first. Self test just to make sure you have the basic connectivity or not. So from the client to the devices, you have the self test. Don't run the script until you have done the self test, because what happens then, you will start blaming your script, saying that your script is having a problem, not with respective to uh, the ground levels, or you would still blame the script, that script is not good. So first do the self test between your machine and the end devices. If you see that all the three are negotiating for SSH, and you can log in, you can do some manual show command, then there is when you have to start writing your script. Okay, after all those dependencies are being installed, then you can start writing your script. The script, as I told you, is like a blueprint. It should have all the details. Don't think it's a bot or it's some sort of gonna pre-assume the things. It is gonna expect everything from you. Say, from example, calling or call of a library. You need to define which library you are going to pick. Script do not know what is your preference. You might go with this. So it doesn't mean that you're writing a script and you don't mention. That's the first important thing. You have to select the package. Once you select the package, then define all the device credentials, the needful thing. You can define the device credential, the IP addressing, uh, let's say if you have an enable secret, you can define that. Then you take the connection, you initiate the connection. Okay, it's called initiate SSH connection. Then you can, once the connection is opened, then you can send certain command, or you can send the request to fetch the output of this command, or you want to config, you can push it via that. So let's say all the needful thing like fetch, config, or if you want to delete, that goes in the step number 4. And in the step number 5, you have to disconnect your connection, because since you are connected over on SSH, you don't want any unauthorized access or being connected to the device, right? So you can disconnect from the connection. So this is what the blueprint of a script looks like. This is how the blueprint of a script look like. Now you do any task, you do any fetch, you do read from Excel, you take a backup, whatever, the blueprint will something remain very similar. You just have to make few changes all the time, and from device to device. Say for example, my target device initially was Cisco. Okay, and I am trying to reuse the script for let's say FI LTM, right? So definitely the same script I cannot reuse for a different vendor, correct? I have to do some minor change, let's say 5 to 10% of change, and then I can log into FI and then do the needful thing. So a structure of the script will remain same, but from the device to device perspective, there would be some minor changes that you need to do it. So I'll take you to the lab and we will see some setup. So let me show you what are the package that you need. The first you need to have is this package. So as I told you, Python is OS bound. So you have a different operating system. So let's say your Windows operating system is based on 64 or 32. So you have to download this and install it. Okay, see, this is a zip format. Once you extract it, you get a exe file and then download it. That download and install it. So once you download and install it, you should validate if that's come or not. So you should get this kind of Python's idle. Okay, inbuilt idle software. You can test few things. So you want to test if the installation is successful or not. See, so if you say x equals to 10, y equals to 20, uh, print x plus y. See, the problem with the default Python's idle is they are not user friendly. You close this and just start up one more time. All the things that you had written just gets disappeared. The catch of that is not maintained. Neither you have some error correction or any pop-ups or any sort of indicator, dry run. So this is actually not something very user friendly. So I will not prefer you having this, but you can still write a program out of this. But in case if you have an option to go with PyCharm or Microsoft Visual Studio, that's well and better. So this is Python installation, and let's say PyCharm that is needed for us, PyCharm community version. And guys, those guys who are enrolled, we will do this in the next class. This is just a demo class, so I'm not going and not waiting for you guys to complete. Okay, so in the next class, I will show the installation process and you guys can also do it. But however, you got the remote lab access, which already has this installed. Okay, so PyCharm community version, download this, install it. Once you have it installed, you should have the PyCharm with you. So let it load so I can show you. See, this is how the PyCharm would look like. Now, I just showed you some small examples over there. Let's say if I create it over here, the same example. Let's say test. So let's say if I do it here, print hello, and let me run this. So do you see the output? And then I said x equals to 10, y equals to 20, print x plus y, and then I was expecting the output for that. See, what happens if you close and reopens it? It is gonna maintain whatsoever you're writing. So in case if for some reason you worked on some major code and then let's say your system got rebooted, so you don't have to worry, it will be catched. You don't have to save, but it will automatically be keeping catch of the each line, unlike Python idle. Okay, so in Python idle you don't have that features of auto save and auto memory. There's no, if you close it, everything will get disappear. And second thing is, when you start writing certain libraries, say for example, if I write from netmiko import, see, I start getting the suggestions, recommendation, whether if I want to go with this or this or this. So let's say if I say I want to go with the connect handler, right? Now, as a let's say as you're writing the script, as you're starting the script, and you'd like to understand what is this function basically consisting of, what are the attributes that it is going to digest. So do you think you should go and start reading a documentation, what is connect? No, you don't have to do that. Just hover on this. So when you hover on this, you will see that it automatically will pop up the documentation part. It will say that the function block connect handler needs argument, which you can define in terms of single star, or you can go with double star keyword argument. So that means I can go with a dictionary. Let's say I can do something like this. Device type. I'm just giving an example. Let's say my device type is Cisco iOS. Or I say I do not know this. I say I don't know, unknown. And what is connect handler expecting? Connect handler is expecting the keyword arguments. This is called keyword argument. The dictionary format that I have written, it's called keyword argument. So how do I pass this detail into this? That happens when you call it. So let's say connect handler star star, because I got that star star from the documentation itself. If you see here, star star keyword argument, that's nothing but you define this over here. So what exactly we are doing? whatever we are writing our data in the format of Python's data type dictionary, I'm providing or I'm passing it on to the function using the keyword argument method. So this is also called like the passing of the data to the connect handler. Connect handler will extract them and do the needful. Say for example, if it will say since it will now extract it, it will say that I am unaware of what is unknown. I don't know what it is. I have this option. Is it something you're looking from? These many options. So to run the script, I'll go back, right click, and run this. So when I run that, what you get? You get a good recommendation that I am not aware of what is this. So you got that over here. Unsupported device type. I'm not sure, but I can understand this device groups only. So Netmiko supports like more than 30 to 40 plus device recommendation. So let's say if you were trying to deal with Cisco's iOS, take that up and then keep it up over here. Now you try to run. Now what it says, now that error is fixed, but it is saying that where is the IP address? Because I need all the detail, then only I can take the connection. So first check that it did is to see the device type. If the device type is good, now it is asking you for IP address. So let's say my IP address is so and so. Let me take from my lab environment. So let's say I'll come back to my lab. I will talk about how to do the management config here. First, let me take the management IP. This is my management IP 24.24. So how do I do the self-test? I don't want to give this IP directly over here. And then while running, I conclude that my script is failing because of might be my syntax is not good. So you should not, on the first attempt at least, you don't have to directly give the IP address on the script. Instead, you can do some basic self-test. So let's say you are trying to see if the SSH is working over onto this box. So you can just do a self-test from the same device itself. So the port is open. You're receiving the option to enter the password, type it, and you're good. You have that SSH. Sometimes what happen if your public RSA key is broken, or if your line VTY is not configured well, you don't have username password. That makes the device unreachable, or you are not able to log into device. So in such scenario, don't try directly first from the script. Okay, that's just a recommendation. Now, since you have done a self-test, you can see things are good. You are able to access it. This is done only one or twice, only at the first time. Not something is needed in production because in the lab we might miss it something, right? Whereas in production, devices are already configured with the best practices. So you don't have to do the self-test in production. In the lab, when we are giving you, when the network journey is giving you this lab, they are a brand new devices. So you have to configure the management detail. And there is when students make some mistake, they don't configure it properly or they might miss some config. And then they start blaming the script. That is the reason I'm telling you do the self-test in the lab environment only, not in the production. In production, 5,000 device, you cannot keep SSH and do the self-test. In production, you just just rely on the fact that whoever has configured is configured properly and you have the access to it. Yes, you might get some devices failing due to authentication issues, some due to timed out. Give those devices to the administrator and they will fix the gas server or radius server, or if the devices are being decommissioned, they will let you know that that's a different process. I'm talking from the lab perspective, a brand new configuration. Now this IP is good. I will go here and give this detail inside my script. I'll say that this is the IP of my device. Now if I try to run, now it is giving me a different set of problem. Now it is saying it is not about device type, it is not about IP. Now it is telling that no authentication method is working. I haven't given any username and password. So how does script will do the needful? How do the script will even take the SSH when you don't have a username and password defined? It is clearly telling that there is no authentication method. Fine, then I'll come up with username and password. I'll give you the needful username and password, which is admin, and the password would be this. Well, now let's try if I get through the device. Now it says that I have done some mistake with the password keyword. Got an unexpected keyword argument password. So it says that this is not a valid word. You give me the proper word so I can understand that it's a password, right? Because there could be any other keywords, right? It could be a connection timeout, it could be SSH timeout, it could be a Windows session timeout. So give me the exact name. Don't temper this keys. Fine. So I've fixed it, and then I'll run the script. Now you see. Now you have. Do you have any error? Now you don't have any error. It is concluding with this statement. Code zero in Python programming is successful. The meaning is successful. So whatever you did is good. There is no error, but at the same time, you don't have any output. The reason is you are just taking the connection. So that's like you just initiate the connection, but you didn't trigger any show command. Let's send some command now. So I will say that my transport channel, which is established on this is the name of the transport channel. Okay. So on this SSH 123, I can send, I can fetch, I can delete whatsoever I want. I can do it on the transport channel. It could be anything. If you keep it, let's say this way, then this is called as your transport channel. If you keep it any XYZ name, then that XYZ would be called as transport channel. So you have to do the next set of lines associated with your transport channel. That is what I want to say. So now if I try to keep it back, let's say net connect 123, so that it's easy to understand that we are taking a connection. So whatever association you are supposed to do, you will do it over here. I will say, I want to send the command now. See, as soon as I put a dot, I can see the list of function that NetMiko support. So this is what is called as user friendliness by this PyCharm tool. You don't expect this here. Okay, you don't expect that instantly you put a dot, you will get the recommendation, suggestion. No, it won't. But in the case of professional IDs like Microsoft Visual Studio, Atom, Eclipse, PyCharm, you will have a lot of user friendliness options that comes up automatically. So how do you associate a function? You will put dot. You got this many recommendation. Since you just want to send a command, make use of send command. You can once again hover on that, and it will give you the complete native or the original way of defining a function. So the function is defined, and these are the expected arguments. So you can write all the commands, but it will take only one at a time. That is what it is mapped with string. Okay. Now you may not be knowing what is string, what is list. That comes up once we start with the Python theory. So this is string, not list. So only one show command at a time. Anything with respective to your network, like if you have latency, you have some slowness in the boxes to get or fetch the thing, or you're running a lot of commands, let's say 30 to 40 collections of CLI, and you need any extra tweaking, then this is where you have to do it. So you can increase the timeout, you can increase the delay factor, you can let's say use the text effects to have a structured output. So a lot of optional tweaking can be done. But as of now, I only need some command which I want to push it, a basic lab. So I will say, I want to push this command, show IP int brief. Now what is happening? My script is going to send some, okay, 1 second, let me, so let's say at this point, my device will initiate the script push over on, let's say, whatever switch or router, whatsoever I have it, okay, in one way only. So whatever that send command you were pushing out, it's a one way. It will even get triggered over here, show IP into brief. But your agenda is that you want it to be also, okay, your attention or your focus is that you also get the output here on your screen, right? That then only you can see that whether the script went well or whatever you're trying to fetch, you can see it on the screen, right? So you have to actually read it back. Okay, the read operation should happen. This can happen using the print function. So remember to print that variable. Otherwise, you will not see what's happening behind the scene. So for example, if I just run as of now, this will get triggered, but you will not still be able to see that. That is because you are not collecting back. So how do you collect this? You collect it in a variable. This is a variable. And then you say that you want to read it on your laptop as well. You want to see what is the output that's captured. See. So you got it from the device. Now, if you go back, check once manually, show IP int brief. So this is the device that you are trying to engage, right? 24.24. See, you got that same thing over here. Okay, so this is a very basic script where you are connecting to the device, providing the needful details, running some command and fetching it out. Now, let's say your requirement keeps increasing. You have multi CLIs to execute. You have multi-device to execute. You don't want to keep the credential on the script. You want certain labels so that you understand what this output is for. You can do all the things by enhancing this basic script. Okay. Say, for example, if I want to add another device, let me capture his IP address first. Let's say show IP int brief. So this is what? This is 2425. Now, where do I add it? Do you think I will go and disturb this? No, that is not the right way. You have to write it in a list format. So you will say multi-device and your previous IP address and the new IP address, new device IP address, you mention it in a list format. And then bring a for loop concept. You can say that for single device 1, 2, 3 in multi-device, and rest of all the lines would be followed up by that for loop. And this single device is what you should now keep it here. Now, actually, what are you trying to do is more than one device. Let's say 2 device, 10 device, 100 device, 200 device. You are engaging with it one after one. So first, this device will be fetched. This will go basically over here. The processing will happen. You will fetch the send command, and then it will go back, take the second device IP, get that processed, and get you the output. So this keeps increasing. If you check it from the flowchart perspective, the for loop, it's an interesting concept. So let's say I have a for loop and I have to explain you from a theoretical point. So I have put multi-device in a list format. So let's say this is a device 1, this is device 2, and so on. a couple of devices which I have it. Okay. And I had a for loop integration. I said for a single in multi device or whatever colon, right? So basically what happens is if I write a flow chart, this is a for loop. Let's say this is yes or no scenario. So at a time, one data is being fetched. So let's say initially device one is getting fetched. When the device one is getting fetched, the for loop only check one thing if that is the last element. Let's say no, that is not the last element. It's basically there are a couple of more devices as well. So it will be a no scenario. Okay, it's a not last element. So it will start proceeding in this way, like this. So at this point, when it is started iterating, whatever actionable item you had supposed to do with device one, let's say you wanted to push some show command, you wanted to delete something, right? You wanted to, let's say, configure something, they all will get done at the time of processing that. Now it is going back, device one is done, it is out, now, device one is completed. Now the second device will come down. Okay, now it is device two. Is that the last device from that particular list? No. So answer is no. Once again, it will go through that same iteration process, and meanwhile, it will complete all this, let's say, three requirement and go back. Now what happens? Device three will be fetched. Okay, now device three will come down. Is that the last element? No. And once again, the for loop will retreat. Now, let's say definitely the last element was processed and there is no more devices. So let's say that was device number 100. And after that, there is no. So is that the last? Yes, that is the last or it is done. And then this is the end of the for loop. So you're done with the for loop at this point. So that is what we have incorporated with our script here. I had two devices. I put a for loop. Each time this is able to fetch one at a time. Let's say you have this and you have this. How you can also check that. See, for example, if you remove this and just want to see a single device, you just run this. You will see one after one. See, you got this. That means this was fetched. Is that the last element? No. And meanwhile, all these things got processed. Then it will fetch the second device, as you saw that from the example. It will process it, and there is no more room. So the third attempt was device list is empty or it is completed, and the job is done. So that's why you will see two devices which got processed. You got processed one after one, and you should put a disconnection method. So I just told you, right, we have to disconnect as well. So how do I disconnect? Whatever initiated your connection, you can just mention a disconnection like this. That means you are also disconnecting from the software side. Usually we can disconnect from the device point of view as well. If you do show VTY section, let's say, okay, show run section VTY, you should see some, okay, if see, in this case, what happens, you don't have any mechanism to kick an idle session from the terminals. So what happens, this can take some unwanted delay getting disconnected. So there are two ways. Usually in production, what the administrator does, they don't let the line VTY without any termination. So they put this command. They say that for let's say 15 second, for a 15 second, if the user is being idle, then just disconnect him. Don't keep it. So this is one mechanism, but not always we can expect this to be done, right? Let's say you have already 5,000 device. So at this minute, how can you go and put this command? That's why you can put a disconnect on the software side. So it will just disconnect as soon as your job gets completed. So if you do it right now, see, you have your work done and it's also disconnected. So there will be no traces left of that user still connected with the box. So if you do like show login or show user, so you don't have any traces connected. Say for at the time of execution, you should see some users being connected. Say, do you see a user here on over on line BTY? Do one more time and it's done. Because you don't want a users just sitting there by and doing nothing. As soon as the work is done, he's disconnected, he's kicked out. Okay. So this is taken care by the package itself. You don't have to do any extra efforts to define any of things. This is already hard coded. And how do you install these packages? Because these packages are third-party packages. They are not a Python packages. So to install NetMiko, we go to File, we go to Settings, we go to the Python interpreter, click on this plus symbol, and then search for NetMiko, and then install it. That's all. So that's the way we install NetMiko. It will take 10 to 30 seconds. Your package is downloaded locally to the machine, and then you have the script running. Okay. So what other enhancement can I do? Now let's say I have multiple device. Can I put multiple CLIs? Yes, I can do that. I can say multi CLI 1, 2, 3. I'll put the list format. I'll say show IP int brief, show clock, show run pipe include host name, and I'll come up with a nested for loop scenario for single CLI 1, 2, 3 in multiple CLI. And then let's say I keep all these parameters within the next for loop. Okay, within this for loop. And I cannot put a static line because I am having a for loop now. So let me put it dynamic in nature so that it can collect the CLIs one after one. Now, when you execute the three CLIs over on two devices, you should start seeing this way. So this is the output for first command till here. Then this is for second. This is for third. Then it went to the second device. Then it fetched it the next three command. Now see there is some problem to view it properly, to read it properly. So let's put some labels. Okay, we can also add some label. So I will say that output for CLI command, and then we can just add the name of that command. So we get to know this is the output. And at the same time, whatever execution you are making, let's say you want to have some sort of indicator, let's say multiplied by 10. Okay, and this is, I'll let you know what it does. Let's say then connected to the device, and then basically you can mention so and so here. That means it's a banner which will say that it connected to this. And once the job is done, you can take a final banner as well that it is either disconnected and so and so. So if I run this as of now, see this is what happens. This was the label that you said you want to multiply by 15. So there are total 15 repetition because this is nothing but repetition, multiplication. You wanted 15 instance of this. If you put say, any different combination, like let's say star, you don't have to put 15 times star. You can just multiply with a number. So let's say now, in this case, see you can see that it got 15 times multiplied. Okay. So you don't have to do 15 time, 20 time like this. That's not the way. You just multiply with that number and you will get it in resulting ways. See, something like this. So this is telling me that it's connected to this. If you want, you can also do some more betterment on this. Let's say connection happens here and you wanted to have some labels format, something like this. See, connected to the device. And then you took the output of show command. So that was this. You want some sort of ways to have the similar logic. It is your choice. Okay. You can just add it over here. Let's say after everything, you wanted some way to differentiate so that you can see the output more much better. See, something like this. So connected to the device, you took the output of this. You have the output of show clock. You have the output of show run. Now you connected to this device, you have the output of this, you have the output of the second command and third command. Okay. Now this is happening all in fractions of second. You can add any number of devices. You can add any number of device and keep moving, and it will give you the result in just a couple of seconds or couple of minutes, depending upon how many CLIs and how many device you have. Okay. Yes, these are variables. These are variables. These are variables. Okay, wherever you see the variables, see how do we write a variable is with the equal symbol. So if you see a equal symbol, that means that's a variable on the other side, on the left hand side. Now, what we will do is, let's say I wanted to capture this in a notepad because let's say I have to also attach the pre and post, or let's say I wanted to configure something, right? So to configure, I'll go with send config set because this send command is only for the read only purpose. You cannot write any configurational line. So you have to come up in the next line. You will say out, or let's say this is a push, right? Config push. So let's say config 123, which is a variable, net connect, send config set. And if you hover on that, you will get all the attribute and the meaning assigned to that. So you can see that config commands can have send config set can have see config commands. You can have string, you can have a sequence, iterator, right? So it can accept a lot of things. So you can have a list actually within this itself. So you can say that I want to configure a new line logging host 2.2.2. I want to configure a router OSPF 100. I want to configure a loopback 102 or whatsoever you want. So all the things you just put up here, you can take the print of this just to see if the things are getting good. Because if there is any problem, let me do a error as well. Let me introduce an error. Let's say if I have a typo error at this point, so I should know, right? This line got failed, might be due to some wrong invalid CLI command, and this was successful and this was successful. So I have purposefully made some typo here just to see that at line 23, what happens. Okay. So along with send command, I'm now even configuring something. So let me run this. See, this is what I was telling. Now you have that line showing you as invalid. If you don't keep that print, what would happen if you take this out and you just pre-assume whatever you are doing is always 100% right? See, you don't even get to know what happened in the backend if that print statement is not in the script, right? And you would have pre-assumed that whatsoever you're doing is always perfect, but it need not to be. So always keep a print wherever it is needed, but doesn't mean that each and everything you have to capture. Sometimes you have to have your faith in yourself as well. So the more you start putting print, the more it will start giving you the output, and it might sometime get overlook the important key factors. So let's say if things are good with output, so you can suppress it. To suppress it, make use of like you can make use of the hash symbol, which will gray out the lines. You don't have to remove them. In the scripting world, we don't remove the line, keep it in a notepad, then bring it up whenever we need. We just gray them out. They are non-actionable lines now. And if you need it any point of time, you can just remove them and they are actionable back like this. So now, right now, let's say I don't want any output to be fetched. My main focus is from the send configuration. So I will only keep print related to config 3. See, now it connected to first device. It told me the first command is having a problem. The second went good. The third one went good and it's good. Then it connected to the second device and the same behavior I found. Okay. So this is when you start scaling the script. You can also write back because now whatever comes to you is from the change ticketing tool. So you are not accountable to fix even a typo until you have a confirmation. So let's say you have to capture this error and send him. And if there were thousands of devices, would you sit and do this manually? That copy paste of each devices? No, you don't have to. You can write a way to take the backup. So let's say take the backup of this. You can go with open method and just define the device name so that backup would happen based on device. You can say that I would save it with a text txt format, and let's say I want to have a appending feature so that to each device the result comes line by line order. I'll give a alias name. Let's say this is backup one colon. Then I'll say backup one dot write. Write is the exact operation which should write this content of this variable and result in this text format. So where are you expected this to get created? It will be on the path where your script is running. So now if you run this, so you should see the file keep automatically appearing on your left hand side. So you have 24 and 25, which is nothing but these two devices. And that is what I have actually kept it. I said I want to have the IP address dot text attached to it. Now, if you open this, see, this is the log messages. Two different log messages because you had two different files. How do you go to the Explorer from here? You don't have to now open the Explorer, then look for that file. Okay, that's not the way. Over here in PyCharm, you can just right click and open it in a Explorer, and it will give you the exact path wherever it is created, because they usually would be very inside, so you cannot directly land over there. So these are the two files. So if you open it, you will see the log and whatever went well. The second file. Okay, now you can attach this to file in your ticketing tool if you are using ServiceNow or whatsoever. Fine. So this was related to a very basic script. We did some enhancement. We can further do a lot of enhancement by taking out username, password, by reading from Excel, by writing back to an Excel, which we will do in the class. And also, once we are done with this kind of basic script, standalone script, we will convert into a class and function. So I will show you how do we convert into a group of blocks. So that's all new topic that we have introduced, the ops model, which was not earlier way back present, but nowadays we have this because that's something asked in almost every interview. So that's something we will do it. Now, I wanted to show you some more example. Let's say I have some other instances of labs. Let's say F5 LTM. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I'm just giving you some example just to show that if you are good with your fundamentals, if you're good with your Cisco approach, making a minor change and reusing the same script for another vendor is not a big deal. So that's the reason I'm just showing you that I will use the same script, whatever we did, same script on another box, which is completely different vendor. FILTM is different vendor. The way it works is completely different, right? But a lot of things will remain as it is. At least 90% will remain as it is. So, because this question is asked in every batch, if I learn Cisco, will it help me to do Palo Alto? Will it help me FortiGate? Will it help me F5? Yes, it will help you because learning fundamental is what matters, not the end devices, right? Say, for example, now the same script, if I would have to make some changes, first I'll get the management IP. Let's say list sys management IP. I got the management IP, which is 24.58. So I'll keep it here, 24.58. Since I have only one FI, I'll just take out the next one. Rest of the things will remain same, but yes, the credential will definitely change. Now its credential for the F5 box was this, and we are connecting fine. We are doing the labels fine. Multi CLI will definitely change once again. Yeah, sorry. This will also change, okay? Because for F5 LTM, the device type would be different, right? So let me keep unknown for now. And the commands will change. Let's say, okay, let us decide that once after I fix the device type. So if I run this device type now, it will give me some suggestion that you have to pick something from here. So for F5, I can see these three options: F5 Linux, F5 LTM, F5 TMSH. So Linux is the bash mode, and the rest two is the LTM TMM mode. Okay, those guys knows can understand. Those who don't understand, just you can sit silently and just watch the magic here. Now let's say F5, I will go with LTM. That means take me to the TMM mode and then run this. You're back to bracket 1 with code 0, good result, no error. That means the script is working. Now you bring the rest of the part. I just copied back the rest of the part. Let's say I want to see connection labels. I will change the command. Now to run the command, you should know how this box works. So let's say if I say list LTM node, I get the list of node. If I say list LTM pool, I get the list of pools, right? So these are valid command. I'll say list LTM node and list LTM pools. And I don't need the third command. Let's say I don't have any requirement for it as of now. So two command working for LTM. Rest will remain same. I'm not going to change this because I did this earlier for Cisco. Now might be for F5. I have to change it to F5. Nothing. Don't worry about it. It will still be send command itself. These are all generic word. You only change it from the networking side. So you did the change. Let's say you wanted to print this for now. Okay, I'll just gray out the rest of the blocks. Okay, you want to disconnect, right? So you can keep that up and rest of the lines are disconnected. So what is the expectation now? You are trying to fetch this and this. So run the program. See, you have the output from that LTM. If you just remember, we did it on the console of the device, but the script can also fetch it. What are the changes that you did? You did a change with respective to this. Definitely IP you have to change. I don't consider that as a change. Any device, if you change, you need, then you have to put that particular IP. So that's a basic thing. But the change point of view, this was the change. Username, password you changed, and the CLI commands you changed. Rest remain the same, right? So if you were using something which Netmiko can support, say for example, you have to check that in the list if your target device is present or not. So you can see that these are all the targeted device that NetMiko support. So you don't have to worry if your target device is one of it. So you have Nokia, you have Linux, Juniper, Ruby, F5, Palo, Dell, right? So it can see Checkpoint, Gaia. So it can take it from all this, and you just have to replace with the needful thing, and you're good to automate your devices. If it is not in this list, then I cannot help you. Okay, that's a package. So it comes from the developer. We are not a developer. We are just using the NetMiko package and we are building our own script. So you can see that it connected to this device. It fetched the CLI output of list LTM node, gave you this output, and this was list pool, gave you the pool. Now back to the taking of backup. Let's say I'll come to this two line in some time, but let's say I wanted to capture the backup. You can uncomment this, say that you are interested to take the backup now, which is over on output 123, and then run this. And where is that backup expected? On the left side, you should see a new notepad visible. If you see here, there is a dot 58. See, this is where all the backups are captured. I will just show you one more time. I deleted that and I'll rerun it one more time. So you will see dot 58 coming up over there. See, a file just appeared. You can, so let me rerun. For some reason, I deleted that. Okay. So let me fix it. Okay. Actually, my keyboard has a problem. I saw that some of the keys got deleted automatically. I was wondering who is doing that. Okay, let me just fix. Fixing is simple, Control Z, and it will just take revert back to that state. You can see 58 is here. See, the file got instantly generated. Now, you might say that might be the configuration would be different because the config on Cisco, we did put some 3 commands in the send config set and you pushed it automatically. But in a different vendor, is that the same approach or it would be different? It is the same approach, okay? So let's say you wanted to push a config line. So you should know the lines first. That is important. You should know the device and technology. Otherwise, don't blame on the script. So to create any node, let's say create LTM node, uh, just for an example, 8.8.8. And if I say this is sorry, node, create LTM node test Python. This is the name of the node, and the address I want to reserve for this is 5.5.5. Enter. So this is a single piece of command. If you want to verify list LTM node, it should give you that. And as well as if you go to the dashboard, if you guys have worked, if not, then it's like any other technology. Not to worry, it's also a part of networking. So you can check the node list and you see there is one which I just created. So that command is a working command. So if I know the command, I can add it here. I can say that create LTM node. Uh, what is date today? Let's say it's 4 Feb, right? 4 Feb node 1. And what's the address of this? Let's say the address of this is 7.7.7. So this is your CLI command. You can add it multiple times, multiple occurrence, and change the name of it. Let's say now this is a node 2 and you want to give it 8 series. And then for the very last one, you can just clone that. This is node 2, sorry, node 3 and another IP, let's say 9 so and so. Fine. Now you wanted to see if the configs are happening and whatsoever is happening, if there is any error, you want to take that, you want to take it in a backup, feel free to do that. Okay. So I will just delete the old file once and just do the same script we did on, okay, who is what? Okay, I think I have missed some inverted comma. Yeah, on the last one, there is no inverted comma. Let me fix that. So whatever script you utilized for Cisco, you're now utilizing for F5. Okay, it says command is not working. See, you can see here, the requested object name is invalid. That could be the issue from the dashboard itself. Say, for example, if you go here and try to create something what you were trying to create from the CLI, and if that's something which your dashboard don't let to give, then you cannot blame the script because it's not a right way of defining. Might be it is not taking any numbers. So no issues. We will modify our CLI commands. So let's say feb node, we should take a number at least at the end of it, if not at the starting. So if I try here, finish, yeah, it will take it in the end, but not in the beginning of this. So just let me remove all that four numericals from it, and the rest should work like this. Okay, and now if I run this, this said it's already present. Fine, I know that. This got created and this got created. And if you just go back and might be refresh here, you should see two more created. So it's just receiving the device information. So just wait for 10 seconds and it will give you the fresh data. Okay, might be the device. Yeah, device is stuck. Device is stuck. That's why you lost the connectivity. It happens with this kind of technology because of its MCPD services. Sometimes the Tomcat gets hung and we have to restart. So don't blame the script. We can see on the other side if those log files were created. See, the log files are created, and from the log files you can see that it's successfully created without any error. But in the previous scenario there was some error, and now we have fixed it, right? So the script remains the same, 90% remain the same. And then you just did few changes as I highlighted. Device type you changed, credentials and the IP address you updated. You updated with the right CLI. You updated with the right config CLI, and your job is done. Okay. So this is what is automation. Now, don't assume that this is only what we would be covering. Actually, when you go to uh, technologies like especially like graphical based, do you guys see the screen? Okay, 1 second. See, when let's say when you have a machine, computer, your client machine, and you have a targeted device on the other side. Okay. It also depends like what is your transport communication protocol. If you're making use of SSH, we preferred going with NetMiko package, right? Because they are all SSH based communication. But what happens if you had something in HTTP based, like SD WAN ACI, Palo Alto, FortiGate, LTM, FILTM, or any STTP based. So these are all your SSH based like Catalyst router and switches. These are all your graphical, which is nothing but HTTP protocol, and also they take CLI because SSH is capable in most of the things. So in this case, you have actually two ways you can automate it. One is via regular SSH, but remember, you have to write Python script. Some of the enterprise don't encourage that because they need a skilled engineer to write a script. That's why they have another way to deal with that. That is, they can go with the API automation over on HTTP. So we will check this portion now. I have shown you SSH. Let me quickly show you API. Okay, by the way, I think that device is stuck, right? Yeah, it will not let me to do, but I can show you the tool and how does it look like. So for that, we need a Postman tool, which is very similar to PyCharm. You have to download it on your respective operating system, install it, and then you have to make the collections. So you have to keep the collections like I have it for FI, SD-WAN, ACI, Palo Alto, XC, DNAC, and a lot of other things. So these are done gradually. It's not that something is given in a downloadable format and you just stop it on Postman. It will take some time. It will take your efforts to test it, and gradually you will have the collection. So let's say I have a collection for big IP. So the first thing we do is to take the authentication or get a successful authentication done. So I have prepared a HTTP call. So this is a HTTP request, get, post, put, patch, delete. These are some of the HTTP operations. These are API calls, which I get from the vendor directly. I don't code it because this comes on the images, softwares. It's a software based, right? So the software which you had downloaded from big IP, big IP 16, or let's say Nexus, whatever vendor you're using, the software comes from them, right? So the software developer itself are building these calls internally, and they would be giving us this API call. We have to test it from our environment. So I say that this is the complete URL. Okay, this is a complete URL. For authentication, I can keep it here. You can see that under the authorization, under the basic authorization, I've called the variables, which are nothing but stored in a global config or global variable. I can store all my data here, the device IP, the tokens, the username, password, and then I have to initiate the request. Okay, so it says that it is good. Now, if it is good, then you might have received some cookies. The cookies will get updated in the backend. Now you can just see the next call. Let's say if you want to get the token authentication, because what happens is if you go with the credentials all the time, let's say for all the 10, 20 API calls, it's not a best practice because HTTP will create some session which is valid until you close the browser or valid for certain 6 hours. So it's not a best practice for every API call. You have a plain text username password. The cookies that is generated that you can keep it, and then you can actually call it in the header like I will show you. See in this portion, see let's say if I'm making a pool or something in the next line, I can store that token here with this flag. So when we are coming up with API topic, I'll show you the HTTP operation, HTTP header, HTTP methods. Then you will understand that this is one of a field which we can add in HTTP header. Do you guys know what is HTTP header? If I, for example, if I go to let's say network journey or any website, and if you try to do inspect, and you go to the network column, you will see that there are a lot of HTTP calls in order to fetch from the server. So I'm a client, I'm fetching this page wherever it is hosted. So API follows the same pattern, client and server model. This is a client server model. And these are individual files which got downloaded from the server. So if I click on one of it, you can see the header details, more detail. Okay. So headers of a HTTP will have general, response header, and request header, the three components. And the keys that you see, these can be a generic one, and some keys we can insert it from our side also. So, for example, some of them would be standard one, some of them would be needed by ourselves. So, that is what I said. Some of them are needed one, and some I have added. Like, let's say I want to add a session ID instead of a username and password. So, this is a complete line. Uh, so, let's say if I go back to authentication and I want to fetch that session ID, this should give me a session ID. I think the device is not reachable, so you guys will not be able to see that. Yeah, see, it is going with a Tomcat restart. It will take some time, guys. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? See, you got this request, could not connect. So if this was successful, you get a session ID. Once the session ID is created, you can store it up in the global variable, and then you can create this kind of calls. Let's say you wanted to create a HTTP monitor, right? So you will come up with the post request because it's a creation job. Your complete API, you don't have to define password because I told you we have a session token, right? So I will update my session, and body is called as payload. Payload in the sense the data what you are creating. Let's say you want to create health monitor, you want to create a security policy, you want to create a VPN. Those are a payload, right? It's a data, and this is defined in the JSON format. JSON format, you will say that I want to create this. This is the send string, and this is the receive string for this. And then you will click on send, and that's all. Then you will come back to the dashboard. You will see your configs are created. So, in short, there are two ways to handle a graphical based technology. When it comes to the catalyst and some non-graphical, then you have SSH. So either a way, if you follow a three-tier architecture, you might have a core devices, core layer, distribution layer, and access layer, correct? So whatever might be the layers, if they have CLI or they have graphical, you can automate. Okay, you can do a multi-vendor automation. You can automate any of those layers. You just need the communication, open communication. That's all. Okay, most of the time you would do SSH in your production, and those guys who are even making use of the firewall policy, etc., you guys would be taking the access of a Palo Alto over on HTTP or F5, any of Nexus, could be SD-WAN, could be Meraki, could be, let's say, DNAC. They are all HTTP based, right? So these are the two major protocol, and you need to have access on these uh, devices over on this protocol. That's all. Your job is done. You should know how to frame your script. You should know how do you put the things in a proper place. And we just saw some live examples. So I'll go back. We are done. I'll just go back and just show you the course content for the very final time. And from the next class, it will be a log session. So this is where you have course outline. We will first start with Python theory, which should be, let's say, 10 hours of class. Then we will go with Python library, which should be almost like 30 to 40 hours of class. Then we go with Ansible topic, that would be another 10 to 15 hours. Then we'll go with the API, which would be another 10 hours. And finally, we will go with the DevNet, which would be another 10, 15. So all equivalent, like almost you can say 60 to 80 hours. So we need 3 months for this. It's not a brief or an overview course, it's a detailed course. So we need complete duration as let's assume 3 months. The timing is morning. For us, it is 8:30 a.m. India. It's a 2 hours of session. The new topics are being added, so it's not a very old topic now. The topics that we added includes the advanced Ansible. So what in Ansible, like let's say build your custom module, which is very much asked. Handlers, you would be seeing something on Galaxy part, Ansible Galaxy. AWS is the front end, the front end of Ansible. So that's been added. So these are few things what you will see. And from API perspective, you will see it on Palo, you will see it on SD-WAN, you will see it on F5 LTM, iOS XE, we will see that. From the Python perspective as well, the things have been added. We have the new modules like PyATS, which is regression testing, and the NetMiko, which being used by very old batches, but there are a lot of scenarios that we have added now. Okay, a lot of used based scenarios, like we have a text effects, and we have Panda. Okay, these are for your structured data output so that you can filter and do some logic building. Okay, and the admission process. You can send us a WhatsApp. This is the number. You can write it us over here. We will inform you the onboarding process. What you get with the batch once you enroll, you get a 6 month plus 1 or 2 month of additional lab access, home lab setup, but make sure you have at least 16 GB and above with 4 CPU, at least 4 core CPU. Storage, just 50 GB to let's say 100 GB is sufficient. So if you don't have this two, do not worry. That is why we are giving you a remote lab, which is 6 months. You get it initially. Later we extend it as per the requirement comes from the participant. Okay, we don't give you in the beginning itself 8 9 months because people don't use it. It's just reserving and then they don't use it. We give it initially 6 months, and then if you are increasing or you want to increase, you can do it. And beyond that, if you want to increase, then we also have a NJ rack rental, which you can purchase and you can lab it. We will provide you the needful resource for that. Okay. So anything else which you wanted to check? So this is something some usual, very frequently asked question. Fine. So now I will unmute you. You guys are free to ask the Q&A. I had purposefully put the mute button so that we don't get disturbed. Fine. So you guys have an unmute option now. Just try.
So from next Saturday is the logged session, right, Sagar?
Yes, yes. From next Saturday, we are starting the session. So that
Okay.
is that.
Okay. So, I mean, if possible, we can pay the amount Monday or Tuesday, right?
Yeah, yeah. You do the enrollment process so that to receive all the things before the class.
Okay. And also, you will help me in installing the backend team will help us in installing all the softwares and everything, right?
Yes,
In the
yes,
okay.
yes. That's right. So the backend will give you all the needful pointers. Take your laptop on Ultra, Vivo, or Zoom and fix the home lab. Or if you want to see how to spin this remote lab, that as well they will help you to someone who has never worked on emulator. So we are basically using these emulators, EVNG, GNS3, and PNet Labs. So in case if you have never worked on this, my backend team will help you to even take a small quick demo of it. So, any other question? How was the 2 rounds of demo? Did you guys get any valid content from it?
Yes, yes. Today's session was very clear and detailed. So I hope the classes will also be like this. And one more thing is like I am working now on routing and switching. So these are the things like SD1, F5, it will be completely new for me. So what you suggest for understanding the classes? Do I have
See,
to get some?
yeah, see, for the other technologies, I try to be very neutral. I know there are people who would not be having exposure to corner scenarios. That's why even in the last class I said we will not be going very in depth on them. We will just try to have a lot of options or a lot of examples point of view. We will have one class on that, not that I will be dragging on SD-WAN. At least SD-WAN is popular, but not like F5 or any other vendor which I'll be dragging for classes by classes. It will be one class, might be in one half an hour or 30 or 1 hour. I will show it on a different vendor. But most of the time, I will stick with Cisco technology only. SD-WAN is very popular. If you do not know, just learn basic fundamental. That should be enough. And from the firewall, Palo Alto is very popular. So I will consider Palo Alto, router, switches, SD-WAN bit examples. For API, we definitely need this one. Okay.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, Saga. So today's class is a little bit helpful to me as well. So, I mean, I work on routing, switching, firewall, and load balancers. So it's kind of a traditional networking, but soon it will. I mean, your classes and your lab sessions will help me in future. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You need to be on track with me because as I told you in last class, we will be practicing. And in the same class, I would be giving 15-20 minutes. So if you're ready with infra, you're maintaining the discipline of practicing same class because I cannot expect all, let's say, 20 people to share the screen. I will be pre-assuming that you are doing that on the same time on your side. So if you sincerely do it, have a question, ask me in the same window, or say you can share your screen as well. And that is how I would be taking the class. And rest depends on you. I will give you all the pointers in the live class, and rest remains on you, like how you take it forward. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And last question is, after completion, do we get any like a certificate, anything like a course completion certificate?
Yeah, you will receive a certificate. It is put up here, something like see something like this. Now the format
Okay,
has changed. We just also add the participant pic also, the photo also, because we
okay,
got some misuse of certificate and it don't make more sense, right? So we have a
okay,
participant pic. You want to mention your company name, you can do that, and we will give you the certificate with a network journey rubber stamp as well, so that it's more authorized.
okay.
Can we use it in LinkedIn?
Yes, yes, you can definitely use it. There will be a certificate ID generated as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And last question is, I know I was going through your website and I see that there is a firewall mastery fine one course also. So that is separate, right? That is separate instructor.
No, Firewall Mastery is taken by me only. I'm covering right now for them F5. Basically, I covered that F5. So next I will be going with Cisco ASA-FTD. So this is what you're talking, right? Firewall
Yes.
master. Yeah, so this is a batch. Yeah, most of the course I'm taking, most of the module, 1 or 2 modules will be taken by our in-house trainer itself. So Big IP and Cisco ASA-FTD, Palo Alto, I'll be taking. Checkpoint FortiGate, our in-house trainers are taking.
So if you can brief about that course duration and the time also, that will be good for
Which
firewall.
the firewall mastery. Firewall mastery.
Yeah, I mean, in future, because I'm also interested for that firewall mastery fine one. So in future, like when will be the next class or anything, if you can just let,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a 3 to 5 month of duration, and
Okay.
it consists of checkpoint, FGT, Cisco ASA FTD, and FI LTM. The course syllabus I will give it from this link itself. Let me put that link in the chat window for you guys. So the detailed course outline, course module, you can read it here for each one of it. These are the lab topology. You can see, yeah, these are the lab topology. This is for Palo Alto. Then this is for Cisco ASA-FTD, FI LTM. This is for checkpoint, and similarly we have for FortiGate. The duration is this. The next start batch is Feb 17th. We are having a new batch starting. The timing would be weekends. It would be evening hours, like 9 p.m. India. We usually have it 1 to 1.5 hour of session for this. Okay, so this is for that 5-in-1 firewall master. So I've also put down in the chat window, or if you want, you can take a quick snap of the screenshot of this, and then you can message us for more information on any of the item, and we will help you with that. All right, guys. So thanks for making out for both the days. It was a lovely, engaging session. So I'll see you in the next class, which is starting from Saturday onwards. Okay. Have a good day and a good week.
Thank
So
you.
Sagar,
Thanks a lot.
last question, Sagar. So once we enroll, we will get a separate Zoom link, right? Again to the email.
Yes, that will be log session, and it will be sent over to you either via WhatsApp group or the email format.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.